Okay, so you want strategies that pay you income. Well, let me tell you about 3 strategies that I think are pretty good. Again, these strategies, if you want income every single month, then these ones are ones that actually work in real estate. If you're working on improving your finances and you're wondering what the next step could look like, I am hosting a free workshop that shows a simple, beginner-friendly path to buying your first property, even if you don't know where to start. If you want clarity instead of overwhelm, you can join using the link in the description. So the first strategy it's the old reliable, as I like to say, it's long-term rentals. This is what most landlords, most people in real estate do. It's predictable, and people love the predictability. It could be that you're making 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 4,650, right? Whatever the number is, at least you know, okay, that's this month, that's the next month, that's the month after. Now, sure, you get turnover, you get vacancy, you get like maybe sometimes having to evict or a bad tenant, but on average, at least you know what you're getting, and that can be nice. If you're retired already, this can be wonderful. Or even in the future, planning for retirement, you know, okay, this is what I'm going to get. That's a really nice feeling. You can kind of pay your mortgage if you have a mortgage, or pay the expenses, or just able to use it for yourself, right? That's your living. It could be that you're profiting 100 or 200, whatever that is. So it's predictable. We love predictability, don't we? Right? So that is the main thing, the easiest way for income. It's long-term rentals. It's consistent. If you've got good tenants, it can be really consistent. Okay, so that's nice, right? The fact that you're getting it month after month after month, and if they're there for long term, that means at least 1 year, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe years and years and years. I have a relative, I think they've had a tenant there for 13 years. Some renters are really long-term renters, they're like renters for life in a way. So you get that nice consistency. It's nice. It's almost like passive income at some point, especially if you have a property manager and you put them in charge of it. Then they're going to basically use the income, and they're going to spend that income on, scheduling maintenance fees, things like that, or if they have to get anything done with the property, even dealing sometimes with the local townships on your behalf. If there's, from time to time there are minor violations or things that have to be fixed, right? Sidewalk issues, you name it. If you've got a good property management, they'll deal with the communication with the guests, they'll deal with scheduling contractors, so you don't have to worry about it. So it's nice, it's easy, you can go to sleep at night to a certain extent. Yes, there are horror stories, but it's all about minimizing risk, setting up systems. That's what this channel is about. Now, beyond that though, it is a bit boring, and that can be good, right? But it's boring, it's plain old boring, right? That's all you're doing with long term. You know what you're getting every month. It's not like, oh my gosh, I made this much this month, right? For instance, in short-term rental, which is what I do on some of my properties, I recall the first month hitting 7,000, 9,000. I remember going over 5 figures, 10,000, 12,000, almost 13,000 at one point. And it was incredible because some months were much lower. That's what I was used to. And then all of a sudden, like a summer peak, the first time major, like the post-COVID, everyone was traveling, everyone had kind of pent-up demand, and then it just jumped out, right? All of a sudden. So that was what was really cool. You don't get with long-term rentals. It's boring. You know exactly what you're getting. It's fine. You're setting yourself in there for life, if you will. So you're getting that. It's good, but it's great. As an income strategy, you can't really beat long-term rentals. Second strategy for those of us that love income is midterm rentals. So midterm rentals is high cash flow without daily turnover. This is my go-to now. So my duplex 2 units and my up-and-coming quadplex, by the time you're watching this video, hopefully, right, it's kind of moving in the kind of midterm direction. Right now, the fourplex is a long-term, but there's a bit of a hybrid of long-term and also some midterm. So midterm is, again, where you're kind of less than a year, more than a month, typically furnished. The majority will be furnished, whereas long-term, the majority are unfurnished. The renters do that. What the good thing with the midterm is, because you're providing typically furnished and you're kind of solving problems in society. Like maybe there's people that want to be there for 6 months or 4 months. It could be like people like myself, like visiting academics, professors. They've got sabbaticals. They don't want to go to the headache of having to go through and find, the actual furniture, etc. Go to IKEA, go to other stores. it's a pain for us to do that and then like take all that time out to do all that, and then at the end of our time having to sell it, especially if it's only like half a year or one semester, right? 4 months in a college town. We don't want to do that. So that can be really helpful if you can furnish accommodation and provide accommodation for those kind of people. It can also be, for instance, insurance. So I have one renter, or I guess one family, one couple that are there right now for insurance reasons. So in that case, it's to do it kind of I think it's a kitchen that basically went on fire, and the insurance company is paying for 2.5 months to stay at one of my units for that particular family. So they're there putting them up for 2.5 months. Insurance usually helps out like that, especially when you're kind of doing things like renovations and things like that, emergencies, locations, temporary locations, when it's at least a month, but typically less than a year. That's your midterm. Could also be fellowships or rotating clinicians visiting medical faculty, or people who are, let's say, travel nurses or locums, things like that. I've also had that. I had people who were a family who were there for an 11-month internship, or rather an 11-month fellowship. I think it was in hand surgery. So when you have people like that, again, they're there furnished. It's less than a year, it's more than a month. It's that sweet spot for some of us. So that's a nice bit of a extra income, because you are going to get a higher, you're not going to have the lowest discount unless it's a full year, at least 6 months, but usually a full year. So this is where it's really sweet, right? In these kind of midterm rentals. That's a really nice, that's kind of my future, the way I'm kind of going, especially here in Pennsylvania, is kind of midterm direction. Again, it can work in your area or may not work in your, it depends on your area, but you're basically providing housing. It could also be for some people, I don't tend to do this, but it can be for certain areas, things like corporate leasing, corporate housing. I have done that in the past. So in the past, I did things like that where people were staying for like 6 weeks, 8 weeks, etc. I think I had some people that were working for Subaru, things like that, or they're at Super America, etc., and they had to put their people up, or even just, let's say, where you've got people who are contractors are coming to a town, they want to put up their team, their staffing agency, etc., they want to put up their staff temporarily, just a small, like a few guys kind of thing, that are working for a few weeks or a few months, right? So it's kind of, that's midterm rental. It could be that as well. So that's a second, a little more lucrative, but again, you do have to deal with the vacancy at the midterm, because, you are getting more turnover, but not the same craziness that comes with short-term rentals, right? You're not getting daily turnover. So you could be getting months and months and months where there's, the same tenants that are there for months and months. That's nice, right? It's kind of less headache, but it is a bit more cha-ching, because you're not giving people the lowest long 1, 2, 3 year kind of lease. You're giving people a nice hybrid. The third income strategy in real estate I like to look at is short-term rentals. I know this is the most income potential right now. You can make quite a lot of money here. This is, again, the highest operational load. That's the trade-off. It's a lot of operational work, and it's not for the faint of heart. There'll be lots of turnovers, lots of cleaning, lots of maintenance, lots of messaging, guest communication, even dealing with, if it's Airbnb, dealing with problems, refunds, extra things like that. There can be a heck of a lot of headache with short-term rentals, but you are then going to get rewarded with much higher income potential. Now, you will get vacancies. You'll get days, possibly weeks, where there's vacancies. Usually you're doing something wrong if there's weeks that are vacancies, or you've chosen a really bad area. Because even during the lockdown, the pandemic, I was still getting people. So, you can do that, but it requires skill. Now, short term is not for the faint of heart, but it does reward you. Again, some months can be pretty low, maybe very, very low thousands. Some months you could be making even 5-digit income, as I have in the past. Again, it depends on the area, depends on what you have to offer in terms of your property. How well is it furnished? What is the size? What are the number of people that can sleep? Where is it located? What's the time of the year in terms of the relative demand for the area? Is there too much supply of other properties? There's all kinds of issues coming into it like this. But short-term rental is you're shooting for the stars. You're dealing with the most amount of turnover, but you are getting that upturn. I love short-term rental. I absolutely love it. Long-term rental is pretty decent. The midterm rental is the kind of one where you're kind of worried that, because you're not making enough, like the short-term rental, or even long-term rental, where long-term rental is consistent. You're always getting enough to pay the mortgage. Sometimes with the midterm rental, definitely with the medium term, you need to put money away in case you get a few months. I think the worst I've had so far was around about 7 weeks of vacancy, almost 8 weeks. It wasn't quite 2 months, I may say 8 weeks, but it was kind of, I think people were moving out on August 31st. And I think that the next people moved in on October 18th. So from August 31st till October 18th, it was vacant. Now, there was a week or two of turning it over, and then I did have people that were interested in the property in early to mid-October. So that month of September, the first half was just turning it over the property. I had to do a lot of work for it. And then it should have rented. There were some issues with the strategy we're employing, and then I had to change the outreach, etc. But by and large, when you're getting into medium-term rental, you are going to have seasonality. You're going to sometimes hit higher incomes in certain months, and if you can put it away, great. And if you can minimize the vacancy as much as possible, great. If the laws are favorable in your area where you can pad the gaps with short-term, great. I can't. But for some of you, you might be able to do that if it's legally allowed. So for me, I've just been doing medium-term rentals in those particular properties. So I can't pad them. But often it's the case that it doesn't matter. There's enough demand that there'll be someone who wants to come in almost straight after the last person. So you can make mistakes once or twice, but as long as you don't keep repeating those mistakes. So again, it can match your lifestyle. If you want the most hands-off, long-term wins by a mile. Honestly, once you bought a property, you could just buy day one, if you've got income and you've got money, and you just buy a turnkey property and turn it over, just hand it over to a property manager. I mean, that's the closest thing to passive income. It's not fully passive, but that's the closest thing to passive income. If this video is helping you understand this part of your financial journey, you'll get even more value from a free workshop I host for beginners. In this workshop, I walk you through a simple roadmap that shows how you can buy your first property with realistic savings and a lot less confusion. If you want to take everything you're learning on this channel and fit it into one clear plan, the link is in the description. It's completely free. If you have a little more risk tolerance and you're okay, medium-term rental. Now, you're going to have to set it up or hire a company to do that for you. If you have a medium-term operator or a short-term operator, they usually have a sort of sub-team that can do it for you. They can furnish, they can take the photographs, and they can deal with that. So you can hand it off to them for a fee. Now, I like doing that all that myself. I developed the skills to do all that myself, so I don't like having to do that unless it's like out of state or out of country. So I am investigating investing abroad right now. And in that case, I'm not there, so I cannot do it. So I'm looking at companies that could do it on my behalf. So that can be really great if you really don't have much time and if you're trying to scale these things. So if you do have more time, so as you go from time poor, that's your long-term rental, to time rich, if you have a lot of time, then short-term rental makes sense for you. But if you're like already loaded and you don't really need the money, it's just like, it'd be nice, but I'm super scarce with time. I'm a surgeon, I'm whatever, I've no time. I'm running a company, I'm a plumber, electrician, I've got a small LLC, and I have even a mid-sized LLC, and I've no time, but I'd love to do this. This can be for you. Long-term rental is great. Short-term rental, you are going to need some more time unless you can outsource it and you've already got a good team. So pick your poison between long-term on the one hand, you've no time. Short-term, on the other hand, you've lots of time. Medium-term is a good intermediate strategy. You do have to set up, so it's a bit more work involved in setting up medium-term than long-term. But after it's set up, it's a lot less hassle than short-term. So again, that's your range. And all these are great strategies. More income with short-term, less income with long-term, medium income in the midterm. So that's the trade-off. If you've got more time, and you will get more money in the short term. If you've got less time, you'll have to accept potentially less money in the long term. And if you're in between medium time, medium income, that's midterm. That's where I'm going at this direction, midterm rentals. So by the way, I'll help you choose your income strategy in the free live training. The link is below. And again, guys, you don't have to do this all at once. You don't have to learn medium term, long term, short term, and you certainly don't have to have multiple properties at the same time. So you can do this one property at a time. So let's build your wealth one property at a time, and I'll see you in the next one.